Hey everybody, welcome to First Glance with Jody Vance. We're going to take you on a bit of a journey here. Of course, it starts in Canada. We love to focus on Canadian investing, but this one has somewhat of an international flavor. I'm going to introduce you now to Inflection Resources CEO and President, Alistair Waddell. Thanks for being with us, Alistair.
Thanks for having me on.
We're in very sunny Vancouver. You're headquartered in Vancouver. But as I mentioned off the top there, an international flavor to what AUCU, Inflection Resources, brings to the table, a resource company that is Canadian-based but operates in Eastern Australia. Tell us a little bit about your company.
Absolutely. So the company was put together at the beginning of 2018, and we are a pure exploration company, and we're focused on the discovery of very large copper gold deposits in Eastern Australia, specifically in New South Wales, northern New South Wales, where we've built up a very large portfolio of projects exploring a belt of rocks known to host some of Australia's biggest mines, most notably Australia's biggest gold mine. This is the Cadia operation. This is the flagship mine of Newcrest Mining. The other big deposit in the belt is one called Cowal, which is Evolution Mining's flagship operation. And then the third big mine in the belt is called Northparkes. And this is a joint venture between China Moly and Sumitomo. And we're exploring the northern extension of this belt for very large copper gold deposits where it disappears under a blanket or veneer of transported sedimentary cover, masking the underlying geology. So we're essentially exploring the blind northern extension of this belt that doesn't have any outcropping geology, but where the southern part of the belt has got these very large mines.
Fascinating stuff. Now, you might be headquartered in Vancouver, but I can tell by the lilt in your voice that you have a reason for having Australia be where you're exploring here. Give us a little bit of background on you, Alistair.
So I'm a geologist. My whole career has been in the exploration business, about half and half with the major mining companies and half on the junior company side of the business. My last role with the major miners was with Kinross Gold. I used to head up the global greenfields group, looking for new opportunities for Kinross Gold. But on the junior side of the business, I've been involved as one of the founders of a company called Gold Quest Mining, which is exploring the Dominican Republic, and also one of the founders of Headquartered Gold, which is exploring Nevada for high-grade epithermal veins. But yes, pretty much the whole career has been focused on early-stage exploration and sort of opportunity recognition, if you will.
Well, that is a fascinating perspective, definitely sounding like a geologist there, and some great pedigree on your CV. The way you described the property in Eastern Australia and Queensland and New South Wales certainly sounds fascinating when you're speaking of one of the largest mines there and sort of going off the veins that are on the along the edges and what you hope to find there. We're talking about copper, we're talking about gold, we're talking about two things that even a layperson like myself is watching markets, and certainly the value of gold in a market that we are seeing today, also the value associated with copper. Let's pardon the pun here, but I'm going to use it anyway. Let's dig in on copper. Why is copper such an important mineral right now?
Oh, copper is a hugely important mineral. I mean, it's the one mineral that really is going to drive the whole, the green sort of path forward for the world. And it's these big, long life copper mines that are definitely declining in terms of grade and coming on stream. So there's a real lack of copper in the sort of the long term growth profile, if you will. Certainly the demand seems to keep growing every single year, and the number of discoveries seems to be declining. So there's a real growth opportunity for copper as the overall demand for the metal increases.
So we're talking about you being Canadian based, and as I mentioned, not so subtly, hearing your accent, you obviously know a little something about Australia as well. What are the challenges for a company like yours to be based here and have your properties so far away?
Yeah, it's really very simple. I mean, the vast majority of the team are based in Australia, specifically in New South Wales. It's really a very small corporate group of us here in Vancouver, but the time zones are relatively simple between Vancouver and New South Wales, so works quite well. But the reality is, the majority of the capital to get Inflection Resources off the ground was raised in North America, and ultimately that's why we ended up being listed here. But we've always said if and when we make a large discovery, at that point we can do a dual listing or list on the ASX in Australia. But yeah, right now it works very well for us. But as I say, the vast majority of the team, including some of the board, are actually based in New South Wales.
It really is a global market, as they say. You did have a fairly large deal happen just a few weeks back. Tell our audience about that.
Absolutely. So this was very much a milestone moment for the company. About 7 or 8 weeks ago now, we signed a heads of agreement with AngloGold Ashanti. This is one of the world's largest gold mining companies, and it's a multi-stage agreement to explore across our portfolio of properties in New South Wales. We are, in fact, the biggest holders of exploration licenses in northern New South Wales, and all of which is 100% owned by the company. So it's a big strategic district scale land position, essentially covering the whole northern extension of this Macquarie Arc. And AngloGold approached us about partnering up with us to explore these targets. So we're essentially drilling lots of fairly expensive holes through cover to explore underneath this sort of blanket of sediments. And what we've agreed to with AngloGold, and we're just working through a definitive agreement right now, but with the heads of agreement, it basically allows us to drill a very large number of holes and meters. It's a $10 million program initially over sort of phase one across our 7,000 square kilometer block of properties. And then after that phase of the initial $10 million, they can then elect up to 5 projects, of which they can then spend 7 million Australian dollars on each to get to a 51% interest in that specific project. And then to get to a 65% interest, they would be required to spend another $20 million on each of these targets. So it's a very significant transaction. The work to getting done for a relatively small company. So we're really excited. They're going to bring a lot of firepower to the company and allow us to drill a lot more holes and a lot deeper than perhaps we'll be able to do through traditional financing methods. So it is very much a partnership with AngloGold, and very much looking forward to get going. And the plan here, once the definitive agreement is signed, is to kick off a very large scale drill program across the entire portfolio. So we're going to go from being relatively quiet in terms of news flow while we've been drafting this large definitive agreement to having a massive amount of news flow from at least 2 drill rigs.
That is exciting. Those are some, as you say, significant numbers for a smaller company. Can I ask you, because I want our listener to be able to remember Inflection Resources, the ticker symbol, AUCU. Why that?
Yes, I mean, you kind of run out a little bit of ticker symbols, but it was available. Gold, copper, the two symbols. So it's quite a memorable ticker for sure. But yes, it was available, and we thought it was very appropriate for the story. We are laser focused on gold and copper. So yes, that's hence the symbol.
I love that. I just had to put it out there. Let's wrap up this conversation with a bit of a gold discussion. With the markets the way they are right now, with resources moving targets. Again, I am no expert, but I report on it enough to see the fluctuations and where that puts gold on the investor map, on the resources map. From your geologist perspective, as well as this company is concerned, what is the gold market like? What do you see? It is your expertise.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely people more qualified to talk about the actual gold market per se, but I mean, I think the fundamentals look fabulous. You know, there's I could get into this, but ultimately, I think with the central banks doing what they're doing right now, and a lot of printing of money, I think the fundamentals for gold look really, really good, and yeah, I think you can see that in the markets over the last few months. Really, it's been creeping up with all the chaos in the world today, and I can only really see that continuing. So yeah, I think the fundamentals for both gold and copper look tremendous.
It's one of those solid foundational pieces, if you will. InflectionResources.com is your website. People want to get in touch with you directly, Alistair, with questions. Where do they find you? Yeah,
we're available. Just call the office. But I'm also can be reached on my personal email. It's Alistair@InflectionResources.com, or Brennan Zerb, who manages our IR. That's Brennan at InflectionResources.com as well. So yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out. It's going to be a very busy period for us the moment we get this agreement signed here in the coming days. So we do expect to have a lot of news, and there'll be lots of interesting things happening over the coming weeks and months ahead.
So we're going to stay tuned on inflectionresources.com, as well as right here on First Glance with Jody Vance, because as the news rolls out, Alistair, open invitation. Come on back anytime.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much for having me on the show.
Cheers.